Hi, welcome to Fiction Fingers Fairy Channel. Please subscribe to this channel for more interesting stories. And don't forget to like and share this video, thank you. As Tiara walks, she scans her surroundings intently, searching for any clues or landmarks that might help her determine her location. Suddenly, Tiara finds herself standing amidst a funeral ceremony, her heart pounding with confusion and disbelief. She looks around, trying to make sense of the somber scene unfolding before her. Her mind races with questions as she takes in the presence of her family and friends gathered around. "What's happening?" Tiara whispers to herself, her voice barely audible above the hushed murmurs of the mourners. She watches as familiar faces fill the space, including Dennis, Lisa, Nancy, and even Harry, adding to her growing sense of bewilderment. As Tiara observes the scene, her thoughts whirl with confusion and uncertainty. She struggles to reconcile the reality of the funeral with the absence of any prior knowledge or understanding of the circumstances leading up to it. "Dennis, Lisa, Nancy, Harry," Tiara calls out softly, her voice trembling with a mixture of disbelief and desperation. "What's going on? Why are we here?" Her words hang in the air unanswered as the gravity of the situation sinks in. Tiara's heart aches with the weight of the unknown, her mind racing with possibilities and fears. With each passing moment, Tiara's confusion deepens, her sense of disorientation growing stronger as she tries to piece together the puzzle of the funeral. She struggles to comprehend how she ended up here and what it means for her and those she cares about. Suddenly, Tiara's eyes fall upon her own name engraved on a tombstone, sending a jolt of shock through her entire being. She staggers backward, her heart pounding in her chest as she struggles to comprehend the surreal sight before her. "No, this can't be happening," Tiara whispers to herself, her voice trembling with disbelief and fear. Desperate for answers, Tiara calls out to her mother, who stands nearby, but her pleas go unheard amidst the somber atmosphere of the funeral. "Mom, can you hear me?" Tiara cries out, her voice choked with emotion, but her mother remains oblivious to her presence, lost in her own grief. Tiara's panic mounts as she tries to reach out to her father, brother, sister, and friends, but they too seem oblivious to her existence. "Dad, brother, sister, Dennis, Lisa, Nancy, Harry," Tiara calls out, her voice growing increasingly desperate as she realizes that no one can hear or see her. Tears well up in Tiara's eyes as she grapples with the crushing sense of isolation and confusion. "Please someone, anyone hear me," she pleads, her voice echoing in the empty space around her, but her cries fall on deaf ears, leaving her feeling more alone than ever before. As Tiara struggles to come to terms with her surreal predicament, she feels a sense of overwhelming helplessness wash over her. "How can this be happening? What's going on?" she wonders aloud, her mind reeling with unanswered questions. As the other guests begin to depart, Dennis, Lisa, and Nancy gather together, their expressions grave with concern. "This isn't how we planned it," Nancy says, her voice tinged with unease. Tiara's heart skips a beat as she overhears their conversation, her confusion mounting with each passing moment. Dennis nods in agreement, his brow furrowed with worry. "Yes, this shouldn't be happening," he adds, his tone somber. Tiara's mind races with questions, her thoughts swirling in a whirlwind of confusion and disbelief. "But we're the ones at fault in this matter," Lisa admits, her voice heavy with guilt. Tiara's eyes widen in shock as she absorbs Lisa's words. "We orchestrated all of this, so we need to take responsibility," Lisa continues, her tone firm yet remorseful. Tiara's confusion deepens with each revelation, her mind swirling with unanswered questions. What really happened? Tiara wonders silently, her heart heavy with apprehension. Dennis nods solemnly, acknowledging the weight of Lisa's words. "She's right, Nancy," he adds, his voice tinged with regret. "We can't ignore what we've done, no matter how much we wish we could." Tiara's head spins as she struggles to comprehend the magnitude of their confession. Lisa places a comforting hand on Nancy's shoulder. "It's a lot to take in, I know," she says softly, her voice gentle. "But we need to face the truth, no matter how difficult it may be." Tiara's heart aches at Lisa's words, a sense of betrayal gnawing at her from within. As the reality of their situation sinks in, Tiara feels a wave of emotions crashing over her: confusion, anger, and sorrow. "But why? Why would they do something like this?" She is trembling with disbelief. "But it was a mistake," Dennis interjects, his tone heavy with remorse. "A terrible mistake that we can never undo." Tiara's mind raced with disbelief as she struggled to come to terms with what she had just heard. Could they have planned to harm her, or worse, to kill her? The thought sent shivers down her spine as she grappled with the idea that her closest friends could be capable of such betrayal. "No, it can't be true," she whispered to herself, her voice trembling with fear and uncertainty. Tiara's heart felt heavy with a mix of emotions, sadness, confusion, and despair all swirling together in a tumultuous storm. The weight of her friend's confession bore down on her, leaving her feeling overwhelmed and lost. Tears pricked at Tiara's eyes as she struggled to make sense of the chaos unraveling around her. The once strong bond she shared with Dennis, Lisa, and Nancy now felt frayed and fragile, shattered by the revelation of their misguided intentions. As tears pricked at Tiara's eyes, memories of happier times flooded her mind, offering a glimmer of solace amidst the chaos. "Remember that road trip we took to the coast?" she whispered to herself, her voice tinged with nostalgia. In her mind's eye she could see Dennis, Lisa, and Nancy laughing and singing along to their favorite songs as they drove along the winding coastal highway. "Those were some of the best moments of my life," she murmured, a wistful smile tugging at the corners of her lips. Tiara recalled the countless late-night conversations she, Lisa, and Nancy had shared, huddled together under blankets with cups of steaming hot cocoa. "We used to talk about everything," she reflected, her voice filled with longing, "our hopes, our dreams, our fears." As she reminisced about their adventures and inside jokes, Tiara felt a pang of sadness wash over her. "How did we go from that to this?" she wondered aloud, her heart heavy with disappointment. But even as she grappled with the pain of betrayal, Tiara couldn't deny the depth of the bond they had once shared. "There was so much love between us," she mused, her voice soft with emotion. "How could it all have unraveled like this?" Through her tears, Tiara remembered the countless times Dennis, Lisa, and Nancy had been there for her, offering support and encouragement when she needed it most. "They were my rock," she acknowledged, her voice trembling with gratitude. As Tiara watched Dennis, Lisa, and Nancy walk away from the funeral area, a wave of sadness washed over her. "Why did it have to end like this?" she whispered to herself, her voice barely audible above the hushed murmur of the crowd. Tears welled up in Tiara's eyes as she struggled to come to terms with the loss of the once strong bond they had shared. "I never imagined it would come to this," she murmured, her heart heavy with grief. As she stood alone amidst the somber surroundings, Tiara couldn't help but feel a profound sense of emptiness. "They were my pillars of support," she reflected, her voice tinged with regret. As Tiara slipped into Dennis's car, knowing that Dennis can't see her, a surge of uncertainty swept through her. "What am I doing?" she whispered to herself, her voice barely audible as she settled into the back seat. "I need to know what happened, but is this the right way?" As the car began to move, Tiara's heart raced with anticipation and trepidation. With each passing mile, Tiara's mind raced with questions and doubts. "What will I find when we arrive?" she mused silently, her eyes fixed on the road ahead. "Will I regret this decision?" But amidst the turmoil, Tiara found a glimmer of resolve. "I have to see this through," she affirmed to herself, her voice tinged with determination. "I need to know the truth, no matter what." As the car pulled up to their destination, Tiara's heart leaped into her throat. With a deep breath, Tiara stepped out of the car. As Dennis stepped out of the car and made his way towards his home, a heavy weight settled on his shoulders. "What have I done?" he muttered to himself, his voice laced with regret as he trudged up the path. As he reached the front door, Dennis paused, his hand hovering over the doorknob. "I miss Tiara," he confessed quietly, his heart aching with longing for Tiara. Memories of their shared laughter and companionship flooded Dennis's mind, each one a painful reminder of what he had sacrificed. "I never meant to hurt her," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I wish I could turn back time and make things right." As he entered his home, the emptiness of the space echoed the emptiness in Dennis's heart. "She was always there for me," he reflected sadly, his footsteps heavy with remorse. "And now she's gone because of my actions." With each passing moment, Dennis's sense of regret deepened, a knot of guilt tightening in his chest. "I don't know how to fix this," he admitted to himself, his voice thick with emotion. "But I have to try." As Tiara watched Dennis with a heavy heart, a sense of helplessness washed over her. "I wish I could comfort him," she whispered to herself, her voice tinged with sorrow as she hovered unseen beside him. "But I'm just a spirit now, invisible and unheard." As she observed Dennis's sadness, Tiara felt a pang of regret for the pain she knew her absence had caused. "He misses me," she realized, her thoughts swirling with a mixture of longing and guilt. "I wish I could tell him that I'm still here, watching over him." But even as she yearned to reach out to Dennis, Tiara's own desire for answers consumed her thoughts. "I need to know what happened to me," she admitted silently, her voice a whisper in the ether. "I can't rest until I uncover the truth." As Tiara silently observed Dennis in his home, she noticed the weight of sorrow etched across his features. "I'm so sorry, Tiara," Dennis whispered to himself, his voice thick with emotion as he gazed at a picture of her. "I never meant for any of this to happen." As he wiped away tears that streamed down his cheeks, Dennis's thoughts were consumed by regret. "I should have been there for you," he confessed quietly, his words a solemn admission of guilt. "I should have done more to protect you." With each passing moment, Dennis's grief threatened to overwhelm him. "I miss you so much," he murmured, his voice breaking with sorrow as he clutched the photograph to his chest. "I would give anything to have you back." But even as he grappled with the pain of his loss, Dennis knew that words alone could never undo the damage he had caused. "I'm sorry," he repeated, his voice a whispered plea for forgiveness. "I wish I could turn back time and make things right." As he sat alone in the silence of his home, Dennis's thoughts turned to the memories he shared with Tiara. "We had so many plans," he recalled sadly, his heart heavy with the weight of unfinished dreams. "Now they'll never come to fruition." As Tiara watched Dennis from the shadows, her heart ached with sorrow at the sight of his anguish. "Oh, Dennis," she whispered to herself, her voice barely audible in the quiet of the room, "I never wanted to cause you pain." Tears welled up in Tiara's eyes as she witnessed Dennis's silent tears. "I wish I could comfort him," she thought, her spirit heavy with the weight of regret. "But he can't see or hear me." Dennis clutched a photograph of her close to his heart. Tiara felt a surge of emotion wash over her. "He misses me," she realized, her voice trembling with sadness. "And I miss him too, more than words can express." As Dennis emerged from his home after several days, Tiara's spirit continued to shadow his every move. "Where's he going?" she wondered silently, her curiosity piqued as she followed him down the street. As they arrived at the bank, Tiara watched with growing apprehension as Dennis approached the teller. "What is he doing?" she murmured to herself, her heart pounding with uncertainty. To be continued,